What's going on out there, YouTube, American Storm Chaser, Terry Tyler here. I'm going to fill you in on what's supposed to be the first severe weather event of 2019. One thing I want to do this year that's a little bit different than last year, if you followed me, I've been on this platform for 5 years, and um, I've had some clips, I've tried to splice some things up, kind of apprentice, amateur type work. I've got some pretty neat things, but not to the degree that I'm really wanting to get. But last year, if you'll remember, what we tapered off with was what we tapered off with last year was the Doors. First time it was ever, as far as I know, the first video like ever produced, ever. The Soft Parade, the Doors, look it up, legendary. We actually had quad cam. We chased this tornado. This was the third tornado that I believe I've captured hitting that area. Very strong tornado, blew houses away, and I was able to increment in this production music, rising the pulse. You had to see it. I carried the people. It was one of the first times, at least in my career, I was able to take the people on a chase for a while, and just kind of dissect the weather. It wasn't perfect, but it was something that I worked hard to do. And I guess heading into this year, what we're looking into is trying to hit the best weather we can get. Today, there's a chance of some wind damage in Utah, western Utah, eastern Arizona up there, in those high desert areas is what I believe it is. I'm not too familiar with the landscape. That's all courtesy of a system that's coming through. I believe the Weather Channel names these systems are winter storms, and this winter storm is named Harper. I don't have the Weather Channel, but I did get wind of it. The storm's name is Harper, I believe. And we already have a day 3 marginal risk in Saturday. One of the things that I'm wanting to do, if you noticed, I'm only able to talk to you right now through our speak. We've got the super chat enabled. As of 2 days ago, I think we've got the money enabled. We're getting some data coming through. It's looking like we might be finally breaking ground after all these months. One of my sites is down. I got to get my site back up. It's been hard because I've shut down a lot of stuff I've been working, and my mojo has been pretty down for the past 3 weeks. I've been really down and disillusioned by this whole experience. My car sales site got shut down, and that's affected my money for the chase. But I've got good news. I've got a little bit of money put up. I'm not going to say where. And if you want to buy a copy of this book, the more of these books you buy, I get more money. And also, you can click down here for posterity and send me money. And I'm going to be doing research and studying now to try to learn how to open up some new features for income. That way, I'm able to invest in some of these weather pros. I've got a hard arm for data, and I've been doing this for a while, and I promise you, I haven't even told anybody about this, but it's scary, downright scary, and I believe it's the truth. It's a new way to think about thunderstorms. It's a new way to think about weather. It's a new way to think about reality. Okay? Like, I'm wanting to learn more like the MIT, the Dr. Lewin, the time travel, uh, particle acceleration, magnetism, things of this nature, you know. And you can't even get your foot in the door. You got to have at least 4 years of school. You know, you got to have all this white collar bullshit fucking rich kids have. And you know, I've been being held down, and I feel like I can see it. I can feel it. It's got to be real. So all I need is check these out. You're gonna dig this. I've been talking to these people called Rode and Schwartz. Rode and Schwartz. They are wicked. This is the wireless communications standard. And what you see here are a bunch of different frequencies. And anybody here that knows weather knows ham radio. You know, that's basically, you get this thing called a technician's class license. I was looking into it when I was 15 years old. That's 15 years ago, you bums. I was looking into it. I never finished it. But those type of people are going to be in demand today. I mean, that knowledge of systems, for example, like the telecommunication network, satellite networks, anything to do with, you know, Wi-Fi, you know, opening up your car garage, you know, remote controlling things. It all comes down to that wavelength of what we call the cloud. Pretty much electromagnetic data. You're immersed in, completely immersed in, you know, any so many, you know, the electricity. You're immersed inside of the, you know, the cloud. And there could be benefits to it. There may not be benefits to it, but we're going to talk about how that relates to storm chasing, and what I'm trying to do. If you guys can donate some money down there, I'm wanting to do some things with these tornadoes this year that are just crazy, but not dangerous. And you may call me a madman for even considering of it. I've thought of some things that I haven't even spoke of, and once they can read my mind, so they may be able to, I think it's best that I keep them secret, because it would be best when it's time to reveal them. But here's another thing. I want you people to check this out. This is the radar guide. This shows you different types of equations. For radars. Do you see that? I don't know if you can get a good view of that. This is information about waveforms, okay? It's one of those things that makes you wish, and definitely for the kids and stuff, you know, you definitely want to take a look at this stuff when you're younger. You know, I always thought, hell, mathematics ain't good for nothing. What kind of dummy? You know, how am I going to use this shit? And, you know, there are a lot of people that may not need to use it, but I promise you this. If you're going into construction, you're going to need to know that. If you're going to have money, you're going to need to know how to count, how to be good with money, how to do things like that. If you're going to be doing any of that stuff, you're going to need to really focus. I know I'm kind of getting off on a tangent. We're not talking about the weather, but pay close attention to that. And in the storm season, I'm going to teach you a little bit more. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some charts. Like I said, I'm going to experiment on some new screen sharing. Tools. I don't have a lot of the equipment I used to have, but we're going to look at. This is the 2M dew point. You say, Mr. Tyler, what is the 2M dew point? Well, 2M is 2 meters, so it's basically 6 feet off the ground. You have this thing called a PBL, it's a planetary boundary layer. It's kind of like the air is in layers, kind of like onions. It sags, it sits, and you have it in different levels, which you can measure in thousands of feet. You can measure in meters, or you can measure in millibars. You may even can measure in kilopascals. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways that you measure what they call heights, and that's where, heights vary day by day. In layman's terms, 15,000 feet today may be 12,000 feet tomorrow with the passing system. And if you're looking at it in a 3D environment, you would actually see air, which you can't see. It's completely invisible, unless sometimes in rare cases, and that's what I've been looking into, is you can see some clouds form. And that's the coolest part about it to me. But imagine in 3 dimensions that you're pulling in all the air and it's sucking down. What we've got here is moisture off the Gulf of Mexico, the only spot in the world, the only spot in the whole damn world. Now they get tornadoes, in a lot of different places, but this is the only place in the world. From up here in North America, up there into Canada, what they call Tornado Alley and Dixie Alley, to where they have that actual Gulf of Mexico moisture. But we're going to move it forward to you. Hopefully by the next time we speak, I'll be testing new equipment. We're going to roll it forward in time. Now look, we're looking Thursday into Friday. Texas, Oklahoma, watch out. Central Texas especially. Might be some thunderstorms. I'm not thinking a major tornado outbreak or anything like that, but definitely the first chances we may see some watches issued. Maybe, maybe not. It depends on, a couple factors, but we're getting pretty close. But here's Mississippi. You see most of Louisiana in the 60s. The whole state of Louisiana here in the 60s, dew points. They're probably going to have some rain. But right where it ramps up, you see this little backwards kind of C right in here? Watch, it looks kind of like a wave rolling. You see that? That is what's called a mesolow. Maybe a little bit wrong. That may be the low itself, but that's what you call a mesolow. The prefix meso means it's in the mesoscale. There's 3 different scales. Low indicates a low pressure, and you see we have this kind of like a dry slot almost. Look at this. Some dry air pull around the back in here. And this is going to be a cold front. Really dry air coming in here. And we got it coming right up into the Delta, streaming in. About 59 degrees in Yazoo City. 60s all the way down there in New Orleans. But when you go through the day, you got to understand it's 13Z, 14, 15Z, by 19Z, 17, 18, 19Z, which actually might be looking a little better there in southern Alabama. That Alabama run looks pretty good there because you're looking at peak heating. By the way, we're talking about an extra 4 days. an extra 4 minutes of sunlight every day from here on out. Don't forget to follow Facebook, Mid-South Chasing, and Twitter, Mid-South Chasing, because that's where I put. Now that the money's coming back and I don't have to deal with this Hollywood silly bullshit Hopefully, I can focus more on operational things like the weather and the science is what I prefer to do. I've had to resort, like I said, to some bullshit tactics to get these people off of my back and get them to get the money. You know, you got to call and you got to do some real slimy shit. It's really slimy. It's really dirty. It's not cool. You know, so I try to keep it different. But this is the first event. We're talking January 19th, Saturday. It's already a slight risk. I mean, excuse me, a marginal risk. We're going to be calling about 58 degrees dew point in Tupelo. About 50s. You'd have to go pretty far south. I'm talking about Macon, Mississippi. I'm talking about Meridian, Mississippi. I'm talking about Mobile, Alabama. Leaksville, Mississippi. Probably early in the day there, Jackson, Mississippi. You're going to probably have a squall line of some sort. I think about a squall line. So what we can do is we're just looking at that. We're going to go ahead and we're going to give you a simulated reflectivity. You say, well, what are you looking at there, Mr. Tyler? I said, that's the NAM Nest 3-kilometer product. Again, 2M dew points. And we're showing that return coming right out of the Gulf of Mexico. Textbook type of thing you'd see about this time of year. And I'm going to promise you this. You can take it to the bank. I've been watching these things for over 15 years. They march in like a parade. They get stronger. And you'll see them come through about once a week, maybe twice every 2 weeks. If you know, sometimes every 5 days, they start coming off the Rockies here. And they'll start amplifying. And we're coming into the last weeks of January. So I've seen dogwoods blooming down here in the last 2 weeks of February. You know, I've seen farmers planting in the first weeks of March. It just depends a lot of times. By April, it's about over with. So you got to understand the atmosphere is going to be warming up. The days are going to be getting longer. And these little rain patterns, it's clinically proven. I've seen it. I've seen SPC publications, some other publications that talk about snowpack, particularly in the South. You say, man, there's no snowpack in the South. But several large tornado outbreaks, particularly the April 27th, they have that snow that comes in. If they get some snow, they've said there's a slight correlation between snow events or significant snow events, we're talking 6 inches or larger, and tornadoes that come in the spring. And the main thing is we're talking about a lot of rain. They say your watershed, the moisture in your soil, it can change your dew points 4 to 7 degrees, depending on your difference in rain per inch per inch, you know, in different locations. So having a regional area like that, you'd say, well, maybe that storm, you know, a difference in moisture content like that can make a tremendous difference in a localized area. So there's not a lot, you know, to say, is that true? Is it not true? That's up for discussion. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to show you the simulated reflectivity. It's kind of like a cheat sheet here. It shows you your radar, or what they perceive to be the radar, and it changes a lot. It's just kind of a rough estimate here. I'll show you. Okay. We got a button right here. Roll it. So you see that little bit of a roll, this little bit of a swirl coming out of Texas there. in the little green thing, you see it looks kind of like a swirl. That's kind of like an upper air pocket. It's kind of like a bowling ball effect. It's just swirling, and it doesn't have anything to go. Thunderstorms require three things: they need lift, they need moisture, they need instability. So basically, your moisture is, water exists in three states. You have a solid ice, you have a vapor, which is gas, and you have a liquid, which is your water, your liquid water. So how thunderstorms operate is on a principle called buoyancy, which goes into these laws of things called thermodynamics. It's a little bit weird. It's a little funky. Fluid mechanics and stuff. It bubbles up like boiling water in a pot, and that's where you'll see those thunderstorms. And how you can calculate it is these things called CAPE, ML CAPE, SB CAPE, and LI, which is lifted index. These kind of show the temperature. The LI shows the temperature warmer, but it's actually a negative number that the cloud is. The CAPE indicates a number in joules per kilogram, the updraft energy, basically the propensity. And there's an equation you can do the Vmax square root and divide it in half, I believe. And it calculates to meters per second squared. So CAPE is directly related to the velocity, the updraft. It's not just like an imaginary number. And then if you're really wicked with the math, you can further break it down into whatever you prefer, feet per second or, miles per hour. And that's where it's really good for hail forecasting. You can look at all kinds of different neat things, the WBO, your wet bulb zero, which is where you got your dry adiabats, you got your moist adiabats, and there's certain areas where the air reaches saturation, your LCL, which is where your clouds form, your basic cloud deck. You'll see where the clouds are. They form in a common area. And then you may see those fair weather cumulus or stratus, particularly anybody that flies, anybody that's in aviation or does a lot of business flying. You'll see them, the clouds that kind of sit as a pain in the ass flying through. You get some turbulence, but once you're above it, you're above it. That's where you have this thing called an inversion or capping layer. There's a couple different, and that's not always the case, but the cloud sits there, and Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent. Let's show you the actual swirl, and these ones could, I think, be tornadic, particularly in Oklahoma right here. Do you see this swirl right on the pocket? It's coming right out of the panhandle, coming right over near Oklahoma City, right down that I-35 corridor, coming right across there. That's Fort Smith, Arkansas, Fort Smith. Is that Fort Smith? I don't know. I'm not good on my geography. We got to see. Those ones that form really close to the low like that, they have access to something what's called directional shear. Now, I already told you about the three ingredients that you need for thunderstorms. Tornadoes require a little bit more. They need speed shear, preferably at least 40 knots. At least 40 knots. And your lowest 0 to 6 kilometers. And you're going to want to have angular shear, directional shear. And here in the northern hemisphere, it's generally clockwise. Southern hemisphere, it's counterclockwise. Or vice versa. You'll have to, like I said, you have to look into it. But when they get close there, when they're really close to the low like this, you don't have the intense speed shear that you would have in a traditional warm frontal setup or a triple point setup, or even a tropical system making landfall. You're going to have that are on the right front quadrant, that wind that comes up. These ones, the only wind's going to be associated with what's called a vortmax, a vorticity maximum. And I'll show it to you. I don't want to leave you in the dark. But let's finish this really quick. This shows rain and storms Saturday morning and pop-up thunderstorms coming off the Mississippi River and a squall line type event coming up, possibly some shit. Definitely down there in southern Mississippi. That is Saturday. So we're talking about something big. And if you look at the center of that system up here, they're talking about big-time snow amounts up north. That is actually a very formidable, that's a very large, very well-developed storm system. It starts out small and it gets very big. Now let's see if we can't pull up. Yep, here's our surface chart. All right, check this out. Here's what we got. This is our 2M temp. In Fahrenheit, that's going to be your colors. And what you're also going to see are some numbers. These numbers represent your temperature in Fahrenheit. And you're going to see some black lines. These represent your 2M. Excuse me. That's going to be your surface pressure. That's going to be your surface pressure. These little wind sticks you see right here, these are going to be the surface wind, or the 10M winds. That means 10 meters off the ground, 30 feet. 30 feet off the ground. We're talking about treetop level, right at the top of the pines. That's the winds we're talking about. And of course, if you know how to read those, half a stick's 5 knots, 1 stick is 10 knots, a flag is 50 knots. Oh, yeah. So we're going to roll it. And you see, cold air to the north, relatively warm, 49, but we got 50s down here. We're not going to see a whole lot going on. But this massive disturbance, you see this wave, it looks like a shock wave coming down here out of the, right there in that area. This is going to be what we call the surface cyclone. It's going through what we call cyclogenesis. And a cyclone is basically, by definition, a center of low pressure with weather rotating around it. And we'll see the pressure center is right there in the panhandle of Texas, right there near Amarillo. And it's at 998 millibars. Now that's pretty low. The lower the pressure it gets, it's no different than hurricanes. You got to think of them like hurricanes. These are classified as cold core systems, extratropical cyclones. They form over land. Some of them are different classifications. They look very similar, but they have a cold core. They form over land. Tropical cyclones have a warm core. If you actually look at them, they get warmer near the center of the low. All hurricanes are tropical cyclones. They come ashore and they break apart. They usually evolve into extratropical cyclones. So these ones form over land, but these ones in the spring are responsible for the tornadoes. So you'll see it go. This is Saturday night. Probably going to be a lot of rain down here, and it's just kind of shoring up that really cold, bitter cold air coming in behind it, starting to sink in. And then the low, first thing in the morning, it's only 1,000 millibars. But you got the cold front draping all the way down here through Texas. This is probably going to be an ongoing squall line or rain event. Probably have some rain going on right here. This could be a warm sector. Looks like it established right here. 50s and 60s down here in the morning. Surface winds picking up. You got 15 knots. And that'll be go time. You're only talking about in the 60s, though. 65 down there, Biloxi. And this is 16Z, which is about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. So 18Z is about 1 o'clock. You can have the line setting from about Tupelo, which is in the 60s, low 60s. 60, 56 down there. 63 meridian is your surface temperatures. And then that storm's going to blow through. And this one's going to bring that really cold air. If you look behind it, you see that really neat, looks like a frosty line. That is indeed a frosty line. And you see by 6Z Sunday, that's the freeze mark of that front starting to tear across North Mississippi in the Mid-South. That's the 32-degree line. So basically Memphis, 28, 31, Huntsville, 32, Tupelo, 32-degree line running all the way through Jackson. And behind it up here, I mean, we're in the teens. Kansas is in the teens. Missouri's in the teens. 20s behind it. We may see highs not get out of freezing. It may be a little less tamer. But like I said, we watch these things when they come in. And we'll leave you with this. This is the official Storm Prediction Center outlook, which shows, again, the marginal risk, the boot heel of, that's the boot, no, that's the toe of the steel toe of Louisiana, southern Mississippi. I'd venture to say from about 78, you take I-22 or 78 or quarter X, as they call it down in Alabama, from about, like I said, that highway south, anything south of that, you're going to say probably increasing in strength as farther south you go, 45. And then during the day, I think that Birmingham, Montgomery, that southern area will have that line. Probably damaging winds, 50, 60 mile an hour winds, probably some spin up tornadoes. And then one more thing, I'm going to leave you with the long term. This is the absolute vorticity on the GFS. That shows our system coming through, which is pretty sharp. Pretty sharp. We're looking at the 500 millibar absolute vorticity. The geopotential meters, I believe, in those really bright colors, that's an insane lift. Really sharp lift. Sharp lift, essentially. And then another system, like I said, another system is going to come through. You get a while to recover, a while to dry out. It stays kind of cool. It warms up, and then right here, January 23rd, you're going to start seeing some disturbed weather. And then that dip, really cold weather up in the Northeast. And of course, they change out. It looks like that would carry out into the end of January without anything big. This is going to be the first one of possibly two minor event. So we'll keep you posted.